Good morning, all of you. There's a question by Akash. He says, "Ma'am, could you please repeat constitutional validity of the law?" In what context did I speak of constitutional? Did I speak of constitutional validity of the law? Huh? Okay. Yes. As far as utility of DPSP is concerned, we had mentioned that it will help ascertain that is the law constitutionally valid or not. Yes. How does DPSP help us to ascertain constitutional validity of the law? Yes. Yes. कैसे हेल्प करेगा DPSP? Constitutional validity of the law कैसे help करेगा? Because the Supreme Court has identified that the balance between uh, fundamental rights and DPSP is part of the basic structure. Yes. So on that basis, it helps us to identify constitutional validity of the law. Yes, I think so. In the last class, there was a question also by Ayush where he asked, and few others also. Ayush had asked that if there is a law made by the parliament which seeks to prevent concentration of wealth. Yes, and in the process it is violating Article 19 of the Constitution. In that case, will the law be valid or not? Yes, I had told you, we actually, for the purpose of the class, knowing that a balance between fundamental right and DPSP has been accepted as the part of the basic structure of the Indian Constitution by the Supreme Court. This we have studied. Yes. So the conflict between fundamental right and DPSP was ultimately resolved by trying to strike this balance. And I had told you that this balance has been struck by saying that if a law is made to implement Article 39B and 39C, and in that case, if the law happens to violate Article 14 and Article 19, only on this ground the law would not be declared unconstitutional. Yes. This is what has been accepted, that if a law is being made by the parliament to implement Article 39B and Article 39C, and if that law in the process happens to violate Article 14 or Article 19 or both for that matter, only on this ground that it is violating Article 14 or 19, the law would not be declared unconstitutional or null and void. Yes. So now if there is a legislation which is enacted by the parliament and the law is being made to implement, say, Article 39B, and in the process it violates supposedly Article 14, only on this ground the law would not be declared unconstitutional. Yes, that is how it will help us to find out the constitutional validity of the law. Yes, so this has been given. Though what do we know? In case any law violates fundamental rights, that law should be declared unconstitutional or null and void or ultra vires. Yes, but now है ना, now through a constitutional amendment also the judiciary has accepted this fact that a balance is sought to be struck between DPSP and fundamental rights. Yes, so when they had abolished zamindari rights, because it concentrates it concentrates wealth, it prevents in prevention of concentration of wealth, and in the process it violated उस समय right to property was under article 19. So only on that ground that law should not be declared unconstitutional. Yes, there might be other grounds on which the law can be declared unconstitutional, but only on the ground that it is violative of article 14 or 19 it would not be declared unconstitutional. Fine, so that is the idea. So this balance which has been elaborated helps us to find out the constitutional validity of a particular law. Fine. Yes. Yes. Yes, relatively, है ना, inequality reduce करने की कोशिश है. That is the idea. Let us not get into details of it, है ना. This is what the Supreme Court, and see this I was not supposed to tell you, but because there were so many questions I've just mentioned it. Yes, do not get confused right now, do not get into details and provisions and intricacies कि इसका मतलब ये है तो इसका मतलब ये है ना. So let us not get into it, let us just simply understand that this is the provision. This is the provision. What is the provision? That in case the the legislature makes a law to reduce concentration of wealth, promote equitable distribution of wealth, and in the case if it violates these two fundamental rights, in that case the law will not be declared invalid only on this ground that it is violative of article 14 and 19. Let us just understand it this much. हाँ, तो वही तो मैं बोल रही हूँ कि उसमें मत जाओ, निटिक-ग्रिटीज़ में मत जाओ कि है ना, इट आर्टिकल 14 टॉक्स अबाउट इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ, है ना. तो एवरीबडी इज कंसिडर्ड इक्वल बिफोर लॉ, बट अब आर्टिकल 14 का एक इक्वल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ लॉ भी है जिसमें it allows that you should treat equals equally and unequals unequally. If you are treating unequals equally, that is gross injustice. तो अभी not getting into details, है ना, not getting into details. So article 14 has the provision for reservation. So supposedly something is done which is violative of article 14 only on that ground, because we are just trying to give precedence to the idea that yes, concentration of wealth. So basically क्या है, जमींदार, for example let me go back to what she is saying. जमींदारी वाला ही example लेते हैं. जमींदारी जब abolish हुआ तो actually every citizen in India has the right to own property. Is there any constitutional limit to the amount of property we can own? No. But for zamindars, their zamindari right was being taken away. So तो इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ तो कहीं ना कहीं वायलेट हो रहा है, अगर है ना उस तरह से सोचा जाए तो. तो वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इनटू डिटेल्स ऑफ इट. आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड, बट है ना, दैट इज हाउ द रिलेशंस आर बीइंग मेड. फाइन. जैसे एक लॉ था नेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ बैंक्स. पहले प्राइवेट बैंक्स हुआ करते थे इंडिया में टू प्रिवेंट कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ वेल्थ, है ना, in the hands of few. The government nationalized banks. Under Indira Gandhi, a law was brought to nationalize banks. That was the wisdom of the time, that yes, the government should nationalize banks. They were thought that they would help in reduction of concentration of wealth. They would be more efficient, more just. Yes, so that was the wisdom. So it is taking away right of few to do a business of owning banks. But as such, there is a constitutional right that all of us are free to pursue whatever profession we want, to pursue whatever trade, entrepreneurship, whatever we want to do. Yes, so that is the idea. Fine. Fine. Yes. Ma'am, kindly explain the challenges posed by DPSP's directive to protect monuments in context. Not getting into details of such things. Uh, yes, ensuring balance can fundamental rights. I do not understand short forms here. How do we know? See, we are not getting into details. Yes, I think so. And Ayush, that is what I was telling. No need to get into details, and I would request you not to get into too much details. If you get into such details, at the end of it, you are the person who is going to be the most confused, and it will see. एक trait है to clear UPSC. And if you get into too many nitty gritties, because you have to study so much, and you are studying it as part of GS, and ये तो प्री फाउंडेशन कोर्स है, अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा nitty gritties में घुसते जाओगे, we are not here to become lawyers, we are not here to fight cases in Supreme Court or High Court saying कि अच्छा ये हुआ तो ऐसा कैसा है ना, these are, अगर आप ये करने लगोगे ना, it becomes very difficult, you will get confused so much in the exam, you will prelims clear करना भी मुश्किल हो जाता है. And this is a general trait. Avoid this. Don't over confuse yourself. We are here to study subjects from GS perspective, not getting into nitty gritties. Everybody else will also be confused if we start discussing all such things. अच्छा, एक है कि proportional representation. Please explain proportional representation and their types. Fine. So we are we were discussing in yesterday's class proportional representation. Yes, we had discussed first past the post system. Everybody understood proportional representation, as the name suggests. You get representation in the National Assembly legislature in a proportion to the votes that you have secured. And in case of first past the post system, whosoever secures maximum number of votes wins. There is no relation between the percentage of votes and your representation. So whosoever gets maximum number of votes, not necessarily even 50% of the votes, will win the election. But in case of proportional representation, a representation is in proportion to the votes that a political party has secured. Fine, so that is what we know. Now the first type was when you consider the entire one country as a single constituency. For example, Israel and Netherlands. In that case, what will happen? Every political party before election releases a preference list. Yes, in that list they will, and each political party is going to list out the names of the candidates in a sequence. Yes, now according to the proportion that each, once the election takes place, now political party A has won say 25% of the seats, political party B has won 23% of the seats. In that case, what will happen? Political party A will send 25%, and the first 25% of its candidates to represent that political party in the national legislature, and political party B will send 23% of its candidates to represent it in the national legislature. Fine, so that is the idea. Then there is also another system in which a country is divided into several multi-member constituencies. From each constituency, multiple number of candidates are to be elected. In that case, political parties will release preference list for each constituency depending on the number of candidates who are to be elected from each constituency. Yes, people will vote for each constituency in preference to political parties and not to the candidates. And according to the percentage of votes secured, those many percentage of the candidates from each political party will go to represent that constituency in the national legislature. Yes, fine. So that is the idea as far as a country divided into several member constituency is concerned. Yes. सिंगल मेंबर है. बस. यस. बिल्कुल. ठीक है. यस. देखो वो कंट्री टू कंट्री बेसिस पे होगा, है ना. अब ये है कि उस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी, एक्चुअली देखो उस जो लेजिस्लेचर होता है ना. इन केस ऑफ इंडिया देयर इज अ सिंगल मेंबर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी, सो वी गो एंड इलेक्ट फ्रॉम ईच कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी, वन मेंबर इज इलेक्टेड. यस. एंड नाउ do we regularly interact with our legislature? Not as much. Yes, generally the interest of this constituency, whatever people think, what is people's point of view, the legislature, the our MP is expected to take into the parliament and put forward that idea. तो यहाँ पे भी ऐसा ही होगा. यहाँ पे ये पांचों candidates will take up the interest of the members of the constituency and take it up in their national parliament. ठीक है. लेकिन यहाँ पे देखो क्या होता है, समझ रहे हो, जो ये लोग कर रहे हैं, जो सिंगल मेंबर कर रहे हैं, वही यहाँ पे मल्टीपल मेंबर भी करेंगे. दे विल टेक अप द इंटरेस्ट एंड रिप्रेजेंट इट इनटू द पार्लियामेंट. लेकिन मल्टी मेंबर का लॉजिक क्या है? नाउ इन अ सिंगल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी इज ओनली वन टाइप ऑफ पीपल प्रेजेंट. There might be differences in terms of religion, in terms of caste, in terms of your work profile. Yes. So in multi-member constituency, what happens? These candidates who are getting elected, they will represent multiple parties है. तो ये multiple parties, कुछ पार्टी है जो मेजोरिटी रिलीजन को सपोर्ट कर रही है, कोई पार्टी है जो किसी माइनॉरिटी रिलीजन को कर रही है, कोई पार्टी है जो बुर्जुआ कैपिटलिस्ट के इंटरेस्ट को ज्यादा सपोर्ट करती है, कोई पार्टी है जो वर्कर क्लास के इंटरेस्ट को ज्यादा सपोर्ट करती है. सो दे आर एक्सपेक्टेड टू टेक द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द सेक्शंस हु वुड हैव वोटेड फॉर देम इनटू द पार्लियामेंट. थोड़ी बड़ी होंगी. यस, जनरली एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि थोड़ी बड़ी होंगी, बट हम ऐसा कोई generalized rule नहीं बोलेंगे. But yes, in case of proportional representation, those constituencies tend to be generally larger in size. लेकिन इस problem क्या है? As he was saying, now what is the problem in multi-member constituency, which we will discuss as a demerit of this system, is that you don't know which member to hold accountable. Accountability reduces. Yes, in case the people of the constituency are unhappy, they don't know. From a single party, 3 members were selected. All the 3 members are supposed to take up the interest of this section into the parliament. But how to? The accountability, the element of accountability reduces, because anyways, the people have voted on the basis of political parties and not the candidates per se. So that is a problem. But there is greater representation of all sections within that constituency. अब वो जनरली पॉपुलेशन के प्रोपोर्शन पे सीट एलोकेशन होगा. वहां पे भी वैसा ही कुछ होता होगा, है ना. अलग अलग कंट्री में अलग अलग बेसिस होगा, लेकिन पॉपुलेशन का प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी ही बेसिस रहता है जनरली. yes, so population का proportionality would be the basis. yes, and within that population what is the diversity, है ना, उस हिसाब से seats are allocated. Fine. Next is single transferable vote system. Single transferable vote system, as I was telling you, is actually the most complicated of the various proportional representation types, and in fact it is followed as far as election to the Indian President, Vice President and members of Rajya Sabha is concerned. Now in this system what happens? In this system, for example, let us take that in Rajya Sabha you have 4 MPs from Rajasthan who are to be sent to Rajya Sabha. Yes, राज्य सभा के लिए उनको 4 MPs का सिलेक्शन करने की जरूरत है supposedly. Yes, and who will vote in these elections? है ना, इसमें you find that है ना the state legislative assembly members will vote. Yes, तो अगर राजस्थान से राज्यसभा में मेंबर्स भेजने हैं, देन इन दैट केस देखो लोकसभा में इलेक्शंस जब होते हैं पीपल वोट, है ना, वी जनरल इलेक्शंस जब होते हैं, है ना, the year every 5 year when there is a general elections to the Lok Sabha, we all go and vote. Yes, common people vote. But when it comes to Rajya Sabha, because Lok Sabha is house of people, Rajya Sabha is house of state. So in case of Rajya Sabha members tend to be indirectly elected. Yes, Rajya Sabha members are indirectly elected, and who elects them on our behalf? The members of state legislative assemblies. State legislative assembly को हमने ही इन members को जो MLAs हैं उनको लोगों ने directly elect किया है, and they will go ahead and elect our representatives for Rajya Sabha. Yes, so supposedly in case of Rajasthan, 4 MPs are to be sent to Rajya Sabha. In this election, who will participate? The state, the MLAs, है ना, the MLAs of Rajasthan Assembly will participate. Supposedly, there are 200 MLAs in Rajasthan Assembly. Yes. Now, what will happen? In case of single transferable vote system, there is a formula according to which a candidate has to secure those many number of votes to get elected into Rajya Sabha. Yes. Now, what is that formula? It is number of candidate. Sorry. It is, let me just refer it once. Total number of people who are going to cast votes divided by total number of, है ना, तो let me write it, MLAs divided by number of candidate to be elected plus 1 plus 1. Yes, so in case of Rajasthan it would be 200 divided by 4 plus 1 plus 1. So it would be 200 divided by 5 plus 1. So it is 41. So a candidate will have to secure 41 votes from the MLAs to get representation into Rajya Sabha. In case of single transferable vote, what happens? The members who are going to cast their vote, they will, while giving their vote, they do not cast vote to one candidate. They, in their ballot paper, yes, they will list down the preferences. Yes, that this is my preference. My first preference is to so and so, A, C, D, E person. Yes. Now what happens? Once the votes are counted, these votes, these ballot paper will be distributed. नंबर ए को कितने लोगों ने फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस दिया है, ठीक है, जिन लोगों को फर्स्ट, है ना, जितने लोगों को फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस मिला है ना, they will be, that is how the voting will take place, the distribution of ballot paper will take place. And once, if supposedly the 4 MLAs were to be selected and 4 MLAs have actually secured 41 or more number of votes, then they go into Rajya Sabha. But supposedly the seat remain vacant and no candidate is able to secure this many number of votes, the required number of votes. In that case, what will happen? The candidate who has secured least number of votes as part of first preference will be rejected out of the race, and in the ballot papers in which he was mentioned as the first preference, those ballot papers will be distributed to the remaining candidates on the basis of the second preference listed on the ballot papers. Yes, and accordingly the process will go on until the member, one member or the candidate is able to secure the minimum required number of votes or the minimum quota of votes. Yes, do you understand? देखो अगर 4 कैंडिडेट सिलेक्ट होने थे as MPs from Rajasthan, supposedly 2 candidates were able to secure 41 number of votes, but 2 seats have remained vacant. ठीक है, तो अब जो 2 सीट remained vacant, जो सिलेक्ट हो गए वो तो गए, वो तो चले गए. अब जो रह गए बाकी है ना कैंडिडेट्स, उनमें से जिनको लीस्ट नंबर ऑफ वोट मिला है उसका कैंडिडेचर कैंसिल हो जाएगा, ही इज रिजेक्टेड आउट ऑफ द रेस, और उसको जो फर्स्ट प्रेफरेंस जिन बैलेट पेपर पे उसका नाम था वो बैलेट पेपर्स नाउ दे विल गेट रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड, यस, अमंगस्ट द रिमेनिंग कैंडिडेट्स, यस, अकॉर्डिंग टू द सेकेंड प्रेफरेंस लिस्टेड ऑन दोज बैलेट पेपर्स. क्योंकि रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन किनको जाएगा, वो जिनका नाम सेकेंड प्रेफरेंस पे लिखा गया था, और ये प्रोसेस चलता रहेगा till the time somebody is able to secure or 2 more candidates are able to secure 41, yeah, the required quota of votes. Yes, so this is the single transferable vote system in which the voters do not cast vote for a single individual, rather they list down their preferences on their ballot papers. Yes, first the votes are counted on the basis of first preference listed on the ballot paper, and the winning candidate is expected to get the required quota of votes. There is a formula, and that formula से जितना votes required है that the winning candidate should be able to secure. In case all the vacant seats are filled with the winning candidates and they have secured as many required number of votes, then the process gets over. But supposedly there are few seats remaining and the candidate has not been able to secure, none of the candidate have been able to secure the required number of votes. In that case, the candidate who secured least number of first preference votes is rejected, and the ballot paper in which he was listed as the first preference gets redistributed amongst the remaining candidates. Base or redistribution का basis क्या होगा? Second preference which is listed on those ballot papers. Yes, so now the votes are once again counted. Supposedly here also in this race, supposedly जैसे हम राजस्थान का केस ले रहे थे, पहले बार में 2 लोग को मिल गया रिक्वायर्ड नंबर, जब सेकेंड काउंटिंग हुआ है ना, थ्रू आफ्टर रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मानो एक इंसान को मिल गया 41 नंबर ऑफ वोट्स, तो ही इज आल्सो इलेक्टेड, लेकिन अभी भी एक सीट रह गई, तो वापस से द एंटायर प्रोसेस गेट्स रिपीटेड. नाउ फ्रॉम द रिमेनिंग कैंडिडेट्स हु हैज सिक्योर्ड द लीस्ट नंबर ऑफ वोट्स will be rejected and his ballot paper is once again redistributed amongst the remaining candidates based on the second preference listed on those ballot papers. Yes, and the process will continue until all the seats are filled through candidates securing the minimum required number of votes or securing the minimum quota of votes. Fine. So this is the idea of single transferable vote system which we follow in case of election of Indian president. So in case of Indian president, जो भी हमारा electoral college का strength होगा, है ना, that will be the total number of votes, है ना, या total number ये वाला वो fill होगा, फिर 1 plus 1 होगा, यहाँ पे 4 की जगह it would become 1 plus 1, yes, and accordingly, so it will be divided by 2 plus 1. है ना, so that is the idea. Fine. तो जितने number of candidates, vice president का election है तो भी ये नीचे number of candidates to be elected is 1. Yes, and electoral college का जो strength होगा that would be listed on top. Yes, so that is the idea. In case of president, both MPs as well as MLAs are involved. In case of vice president, it is only the MPs who are involved. There is no role for MLAs there. Fine. So that is the idea. That is how you find that elections takes place. नहीं, MLC does not play a role, है ना, और वो अलग अलग के लिए अलग अलग है, बट यहाँ पे MLC का रोल नहीं रहता है. Yes. Fine. Let's नो तो फिर उसको सिंगल ट्रांसफरेबल वोट ही बोलते हैं ना. No, there is no specific name. There is this name only. Proportional representation है ना. And there are different systems. There is no specific one name given to each of the two. Yes. So that is the idea. है ना. वहां पे in these two cases, यहाँ पे क्या है, voter is listing down his preference. In these two cases, the voter is not listing down the preference. Voter is casting vote for a political party, for one political party. But here there is listing of preferences by the voter. तभी transferable vote है ना. You transfer the vote from one candidate to another based on the preferences listed on the ballot paper. When an entire country is considered as a single constituency, when an entire country is divided into multiple member constituencies. Yes, fine. Let's write it down. Write down a single transferable vote system. An example is in election of Indian president, comma vice president, comma members of Rajya Sabha. Yes. Now in points, write down under it. Write down each voter is to rank candidates, according to his or her preferences. Next sub point, to be decided, yeah, to be declared as a winner, a candidate has to win, the required quota of votes. Yes. Required quota of votes, under it write down the formula for the required quota of votes. Write down number of votes divided by number of votes divided by total number of candidates to be elected, plus one, and yes, so you have written this much, then plus 1. Yes. Uh, Full stop. Write down. So you have written on top total number of votes. इसको लिख लो total number of votes polled. Polled. Polled मतलब received. Total number of votes polled. Total number of votes polled divided by total number of candidates to be elected plus 1 and then plus 1. Fine. So that is how. Write down below. For example, 4 members. For example, if 4 members of Rajya Sabha are to be elected by 200 MLAs in Rajasthan, comma, the winner would require write down in bracket, write down 200 divided by 4 plus 1 है ना, outside plus 1 है ना, जो ये फॉर्मूला है उस हिसाब से plus 1 is equal to 40 plus 1 is equal to 41 votes. Yes. Next point, write down. When the votes are counted, it is to be done on the basis of first preference votes secured by each candidate. Yes. Write down next point. Write down if after counting all the first preference votes, comma, the required number of candidates fail to fulfill the needed quota, comma, the candidate who has secured least number of first preference votes would be eliminated. Is eliminated, and his or her votes are transferred to those mentioned to those mentioned as second preference, on those ballot papers, full stop. This process continues till the required number of candidates secure the minimum quota of votes and are declared elected. Yes, fine. So this is the example of single transferable vote system. I hope all of you understand. Fine. So in this case, the difference is the voter is listing down the preference in its ballot paper, and the votes would be first counted on the basis of first preference vote. If the required number of candidates are able to secure the required quota of votes, they are all declared elected. But in case they are not able to secure the required quota of votes, in that case, the candidate who has secured the least number of votes, he is eliminated of the race, and his votes are transferred to those listed as second preference on those ballot papers. And the process continues until and unless the required number of candidates are able to secure the required quota of votes. Fine. So this is the idea. Fine. Once again, few questions here. Ria says, ma'am, if there are 5 parties and 3 of them get almost 95.5% of the votes and other 2 get 2% each, then they come together to send a member? No, that is not a possibility. She is saying, supposedly, in case of Israel, I told you that each political party has to secure minimum of 3.5% of votes to send its candidates into the parliament. Yes, so supposedly there are 2-3 political parties who have not been able to secure that 3.5% and a minimum threshold of votes. In that case, can they form a coalition and send joint candidate? No, that is not a possibility. Yes, each political party can send candidate only on the basis of the preference list which they released prior to the election. Fine, so that is the idea. Proportional representation, does it provide a stable government? See, proportional representation will lead to coalition government. And the general, see, coalition can be stable, but the general tendency of a coalition government is that it is unstable. So we'll say that proportional representation leads to coalition government, है ना? कोई single party तो नहीं करेगा सारे seats secure, या majority seats भी secure नहीं करेगा for that matter. So you have a tendency whereby it leads to coalition government, and coalition government tend to be unstable. Is preference list and referendum same? No, they are very different. Referendum is an instrument of direct democracy. Yes, in which the voters will be asked a question. For example, when Britain was to come out of European Union करके एक organization है, उससे जब बाहर आना था, तो there was a referendum. Yes, that will the British citizens support Brexit, Britain exiting EU or not? है ना? तो referendums are voting options given to the normal citizens over certain policy issues. Yes, so that is the idea. Preference list is a list of candidates. Fine. हाँ, 200 कैंडिडेट हो सकते हैं, जितने कैंडिडेट हो 200 कैंडिडेट मतलब क्या हुआ, जैसे कि अब 200 कैंड बैलेट पेपर में, अब इट डिपेंड्स नाउ, या तो बैलेट पेपर में जितने कैंडिडेट्स आर कंटेस्टिंग द इलेक्शन, अब ऐसा तो नहीं होगा कि 200 कैंडिडेट्स आर कंटेस्टिंग फॉर राज्यसभा सीट इन केस ऑफ राजस्थान, यू अंडरस्टैंड। जो ऑलरेडी एमएलए है वो जनरली कंटेस्ट नहीं कर रहा होगा, जनरली स्पीकिंग नहीं कंटेस्ट कर रहा होगा, कुछ और कैंडिडेट्स है जो कंटेस्ट कर रहे होंगे। हाँ, तो अब जो भी 5-10 लोग होंगे तो उनके नाम लिस्ट डाउन हो सकते हैं, बिल्कुल, है ना। हाँ हाँ, उन्हीं में से। फाइन, फाइन। So this is with respect to proportional representation. Now what are the merits of proportional representation? What are the merits of proportional representation? Yes. Less या minimum wastage of votes, क्योंकि जिन्होंने अब 3.5% जैसे वहां पे कास्ट किया इसराइल में, कुछ तो वोट्स वेस्ट होंगे, 100% रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं होता है ना, 100% of the votes do not get representation, but so we'll say minimum wastage of votes. What else? Wider representation, wider representation in legislature, wider representation in legislature. Yes, अब यही कि all section of the society is represented, उसमें हम ये बोल सकते हैं best system for representation of minorities. What else? Write down the merits as I am listing down, you can also write it down. Yes, minimum wastage of votes, wider representation in the legislature, best system of representation for minorities. Yes, and last point we can mention that diverse interest groups, भाई diverse communities है ना, diverse interest groups get representation, and can affect policy making. So both the capitalist as well as the worker class, है ना। Diverse interest groups get representation and can affect policy making, या can become part of policy making. So these are some of the merits as far as proportional representation is concerned. All of you have written it down? How members of Lok Sabha are elected? Direct election है ना, single member constituency से, plurality system के basis पे elections है, कि हम ही elect करते हैं लोक सभा members को, they are directly elected by the people based on first past the post system. Fine. Now what are the demerits of proportional representation? Yes, it is a very, very complicated system. Yes, first is complicated electoral system. Complicated electoral system. Difficult to understand. Difficult to understand. For normal voters, it might become very complicated to understand. What else? It is time consuming. It is expensive. है ना, एक बार में अगर elect नहीं हुए तो you will have to repeat the process till the time the required number of candidates secure the required quota of votes. So time consuming and expensive. Huh? Huh. Yes, the unlike the plurality system, where voters vote for individual candidates in proportional representation. Generally of the first two types that we are talking about, in proportional representation, voters vote for political parties. Therefore, candidates या elected members accountability to the voters reduces. Yes. Unlike the plurality system where voters vote for individual candidates in proportional representation, voters vote for political parties. Therefore, elected members' accountability to the voters is less. Yeah, is diluted. Actual representative, हाँ, जो जीतते हैं वो पावर, मतलब हाँ वही अकाउंटेबिलिटी कम हो जाती है ना. चलो ठीक है, एक जन को आप अकाउंटेबल होल्ड करते हो तो ऑफ कोर्स अकाउंटेबिलिटी बढ़ जाती है. जब अकाउंटेबिलिटी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी डाइल्यूट्स. फिर और results in your tendency is to form coalition governments, and coalition governments by nature tend to be unstable. Tendency is to form coalition governments tendencies to form coalition governments, and coalition governments by nature tend to be unstable. Yes, Priyanshi says, who conducts elections? These election to the office of the president, vice president, Rajya Sabha members, Lok Sabha members. In case of India, Election Commission of India. Yes, Election Commission of India. Yes, coalition governments tend to be unstable because of ideological differences or whatsoever reason it might be. Fine. So this is with respect to demerits of proportional representation. Then, as part of a table, we will distinguish between first past the post system and proportional representation. Yes. So as part of a table, we will draw a comparison. Yes. बताओ. First point, let us mention what he was talking about, that in case of first past the post system, there are relatively, or a country is divided into relatively, yes, relatively smaller constituencies and in case of proportional representation, larger size constituencies. Yes, you can write even the country can be considered as a single constituency. And in case of Israel, Netherlands, etc. Yes. फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी का और डिफरेंस बताओ. आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी की बात कर रहे हैं तो यस, यहाँ पे होता है सिंगल मेंबर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी. यस, whosoever gets maximum votes is elected. एंड यहाँ पे क्या होगा, मल्टी मेंबर. प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन है तो मल्टी मेंबर होना ही होगा, है ना. इट कैन नॉट बी सिंगल मेंबर. मल्टी मेंबर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी. yes, what else? Yes, voters vote for candidates, individual candidates, for individual candidates, and यहाँ पे votes for political parties. What else? फाइन. और बताओ, मेरिट डीमेरिट में नहीं जाके, है ना, इजी और सब्सटैंशियल डिफरेंसेस. Which is more closer to democracy? Democracy is about wider representation. In that case, this is more closer to democracy, है ना. यहाँ पे तो there is a tendency of majoritarian government. तो यहाँ पे वाइडर रिप्रेजेंटेशन, तो वैसा देखा जाए तो ये है मोर क्लोज टू डेमोक्रेसी. बट मेरिट डीमेरिट है नहीं लिस्ट कर रहे, इनके सिस्टम के डिफरेंसेस बताओ. यस, वी हैव बोरोड इट फ्रॉम ब्रिटेन, लेकिन अभी इंडिया स्पेसिफिक नहीं, अभी ये है ना, जनरली बताओ कि है ना द सिस्टम्स में क्या डिफरेंस. व्हाट ही सेइंग इज करेक्ट, वी हैव बोरोड दिस सिस्टम फ्रॉम ब्रिटेन, है ना. for sorry, नॉट नेसेसरी. प्रेसिडेंट प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन के थ्रू आ रहा है, सिंगल ट्रांसफरेबल वोट से. इन केस ऑफ इजराइल, अब जो मेंबर जा रहा है पार्लियामेंट में, शुड ही, वो तो एक नॉर्मल कैंडिडेट ही इज नॉट नेसेसरी हमें. बट दैट इज नॉट द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दीस टू सिस्टम. ये हमने चॉइस किया है. We have chosen to have FPTP in Lok Sabha because here the normal citizens are going to cast vote. In case of Rajya Sabha, since there is indirect election, there was a possibility of proportional representation, so we have chosen proportional representation for Rajya Sabha elections. Yes, so it is a choice made by India, but it is not the difference in the system per se. Yes. यू अंडरस्टैंड, क्योंकि इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड है, इस वजह से ये कॉमन सिटीजन्स वोट करेंगे तो ये सिस्टम. वहां पे MPs and MLAs are going to vote. So we can go for this system because they would be in a better position to understand this system. Fine. इसमें simple ये कि the individual candidate, the winning candidate would have secured maximum number of votes. Winning candidate should secure maximum number of votes. यहाँ पे winning candidate should secure winning candidate should secure minimum या required quota of votes. Yes. Regarding votes, what? हाँ ये आप मेंशन कर सकते हो. चलो votes wasted, large number of votes wasted, large number of votes wasted, and in proportional representation, minimum votes wastage, minimum votes wastage. Yes. देखो इसी को फर्दर अगर अंडरस्टैंड करें तो इसमें क्या है, वोट्स का वेस्टेज बहुत ज्यादा है. सो दैट मीन्स अ कैंडिडेट हु हैज सिक्योर्ड, है ना, not necessarily maximum number of votes is elected, मतलब not the majority of the vote is elected, है ना, बस maximum number होना चाहिए तो he gets elected. Now in this system there is another problem. देखो यहाँ पे क्या होता है, in proportional representation political parties get representation in the legislature according to their share of votes. Share of votes कह लो या proportion of votes. Yes, political party, depending on what proportion of votes they have been able to poll, they will get representation. But in case of FPTP, what happens? Political parties tend to get more number of seats compared to the percentage of votes they have been able to secure. Because इसका reason यही है, wastage of votes होता है यहाँ पे. Yes, so political parties tend to get more number of seats than the percentage of vote they have secured. Yes, and one of the very stark example of it is the 1984 Lok Sabha. And it was Rajiv Gandhi which formed the government and Rajiv Gandhi got, or Congress got 80% of the seats in Lok Sabha. Yes, but if you look at the percentage of votes they were able to poll, it was just 48% of the voters actually voted for the Congress, but they were able to get much large, 80% of the seats in Lok Sabha. And this happens every year in election. Yes, so many a times, for example, now the NDA government generally is able to secure more seats compared to the percentage of votes that they have secured. The Congress party is generally these days securing less number of seats compared to the percentage of votes they are able to poll. तो यहाँ पे ये mismatch है. यहाँ पे क्या है, each political party gets representation in proportion to the votes they secure, but here the winning political party tends to get more seats than the percentage of votes that they secure. Yes, write it down. Yes, in case of FPTP, write down. The winning political party the winning political party tends to get, या लिखो, tends to get more seats in the legislature compared to their share of votes, लिखो यहाँ पे, for example in 1984 लोक सभा elections Congress party secured more than 80% of the seats, in Lok Sabha compared to only 48% of the votes that they got. Percent of the votes they got. Yes. And then the next, in proportional representation, political parties get seats in the legislature. Political parties gets seats in the legislature in proportion to their share of votes. Fine. So this is with respect to a general comparison between first past the post system and proportional representation. Fine. Fine. There's a question, what is true democracy? What is true democracy? What do you mean by true democracy? वो होता है प्योर डेमोक्रेसी को, अदर नेम फॉर फॉर डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी इज प्योर डेमोक्रेसी, है ना, बिकॉज पीपल डायरेक्टली पार्टिसिपेट. ट्रू डेमोक्रेसी मतलब we will have to distinguish between a country which is truly democratic and a country which is pseudo democratic. Yes, if there are regular elections held, does it mean that the democracy is true democracy? No. Yes, for a country to be true democracy, people should actually truly get right to elect their representatives. Yes, so there has to be free, fair and regular elections. Plus, there has to be freedom of speech and expression. There has to be freedom of press. There has to be accountability of those in power, those elected. Yes, there has to be true empowerment of the masses. There has to be inclusive, wider representation. All these are features of true democracy. Yes, write it down. You might write it down in a bracket या नोट करके लिख लो. Write down, give a small subhead, true democracy. Write down regular elections do not necessarily indicate that a country is a true democracy. does not necessarily indicate that a country is true democracy. Yes. Write down next point. For a country to qualify as true democracy, for a country to qualify as true democracy, it needs to fulfill the following conditions. है ना, उसमें लिखो क्या है कंडीशन, सच एज फ्री फेयर एंड रेगुलर इलेक्शंस, people get the right to elect, to truly elect their representatives. Yes, there is accountable government, there is empowerment of masses, there is inclusiveness in democracy या wider representation of various communities, interest groups, wider representation of various communities, interest groups. Yes. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom of press, right to dissent. ये सब एक ही है एक्चुअली, फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन में ही ये सब आता है, बट वी आर जस्ट मेंशनिंग फॉर यू, है ना, फॉर अस टू हैव अ वाइडर अप्रिसिएशन. और कोई कंडीशन है फॉर अ ट्रू डेमोक्रेसी? Democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. It has to be an accountable government, representative government, and it has to result in empowerment of the masses. Yes, it has to be true liberty, true right to elect your own representatives. Yes, so that is the idea. Fine. In bracket you can mention pure democracy. क्या है? Direct democracy is called pure democracy, क्योंकि वहां पे already है ना, सब कुछ है. People are directly getting involved in policy making, so you need not have representatives. फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन की जरूरत ही नहीं है. फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन क्यों चाहिए? ताकि हम अपने ट्रू रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को भेज सकें. बट यहाँ पे हम खुद ही पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे, तो दैट इज द रीजन. बट है ना, मोर ऑफन देन नॉट दे आर नॉट फीजिबल, है ना, क्योंकि इन प्रेजेंट टाइम्स व्हेन countries have large population size, yes, today is a time of nation states, है ना, city states नहीं है अब, so you cannot have direct democracy. They are becoming less feasible. So indirect democracy, a representative democracy, is more feasible in the modern times because of large population sizes, and in such condition you need all this. There has to be accountable government. These two are the most important. यही actually ये सारे points इसी में आ जाते हैं. Yes, accountable government and empowerment of the masses. Empowerment of the masses, in fact, वैसे देखा जाए तो बस यही है ना. Democracy is defined at times as just empowerment of the masses. The goal of democracy is empowerment of the masses. अगर empowerment of the masses है तो इसका मतलब the government is accountable to the masses. The way to ensure accountable government, free and fair elections. Then the way to ensure accountable government is to people getting genuinely the right to elect their representative. And how can they elect their representative? It is not simply an act of casting your vote, but you should be able to make the right choice. To whom should you cast your vote towards? So for that you need freedom of speech and expression, you need freedom of press. The press and common people should have right to dissent. Dissent का मतलब क्या होता है? It means right to disagree. Yes, right to criticize policies of the government. Yes. So if a government does not allow you the right to criticize its policies, it is not a democratic government. Yes, right to dissent is an essential feature of a true democracy. In fact, it is said that a democracy is known by the freedom it gives to the dissidents, to the people who disagree. Yes, so right to dissent is a very essential feature, which these days you find most of the governments taking it away from the citizens. Yes, if you criticize the government, you should not be called anti-national, अनपेट्रियोटिक, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. डेमोक्रेसी का इंट्रिंसिक राइट है, राइट टू क्रिटिसाइज. ठीक है. तो अभी आप जब न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ोगे तो आप यू विल कम अक्रॉस अ टर्म नोन एज सेडिशन. बहुत बार गवर्नमेंट अरेस्ट इंडिविजुअल ऑन द चार्जेस ऑफ सेडिशन. सेडिशन को वो बहुत लिबरली इंटरप्रेट करते हैं. जब भी आप क्रिटिसाइज करोगे गवर्नमेंट को, वो आपको अरेस्ट कर लेंगे. यस, but that is not sedition. The law on sedition is a colonial vestige, yeah, colonial legacy. Colonial government did not allow the people the right to dissent, but a democratic government should give people right to dissent. Yes, so that is the idea, है ना. तो sedition has, एक तो ऐसा होना ही नहीं चाहिए, और sedition को narrowly interpret करने की जरूरत है. Only when you incite violence against the state, you call upon people to engage in violence against state property, against public property, against those in power, against the government, then sedition can be brought in, not by a simple act of criticizing the government or disagreeing with the policies of the government. That is our democratic right. If we are unhappy with the government, we'll have to let the government know we are unhappy. Should we live with that government for 5 years? We will have to force the government to change its policies. There has to be a feedback loop. So we can send a feedback which is negative, not necessarily always a positive feedback has to come its way. Fine, so that is the idea. So all these are very, very essential features of a democracy. A true democracy is a democracy which leads to empowerment of the masses. ये दो की वर्ड्स है, empowerment of the masses और accountable government. ठीक है, इन्हीं से हम ट्रू डेमोक्रेसी को आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं. फाइन फाइन. अकाउंटेबल का मतलब क्या है? यू आर अकाउंटेबल टू मी, आई एम अकाउंटेबल टू यू, सो यू कैन होल्ड मी responsible. Transparency is what I am doing, it has to be transparent. You should know what I am doing. Transparency will not necessarily, will not always lead to accountability. But for accountability, transparency is essential. है ना? तो accountability goes a step ahead. Through transparency, there is accountability that you ensure. समझ में आ रहा है सबको? है ना? ये सारे terms का clarity होना चाहिए. In fact, ethics वगैरह में ये काफी important रहते हैं. Fine. Last one, let me read a comment. But ma'am, in pure democracy, the opinion on lawmaking can be also that of illiterates that can hinder proper lawmaking. देखो, literacy और democracy में हम है ना direct correlation नहीं बैठाते, है ना. For you need wisdom, है ना, and wisdom does not directly come through education, है ना. So it is not generally literacy. Many literates lack wisdom, है ना. Many literates would not have the ability to go for critical reasoning, है ना. जो जनरली साइंस ग्रेजुएट्स होते हैं उनको क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग सिखाई नहीं जाती. ये आप यूपीएससी के प्रिपरेशन में पढ़ोगे क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग क्या चीज होती है और उसको हम कैसे यूज करते हैं. ठीक है, तो दैट इज द आइडिया. सो वी डू नॉट डायरेक्टली कोरिलेट दैट, बट यस, इसीलिए कई बार डेमोक्रेसी हैज आल्सो बीन क्रिटिसाइज्ड, है ना. कुछ थिंकर्स थे, है ना, जो एंशिएंट Greek thinkers, Plato, Socrates, who did not like democracy. They thought democracy to be government of fools, government of masses, है ना. Winston Churchill ने भी कहा है, this is democracy is the worst form of government, but it is best practicable form until a better form is discovered or invented. Yes, so that is the idea. So democracy is criticized. It is essential democracy does not translate into something known as mobocracy. जब mob, जब we lose our individual identity, we do not use our mind, हम सिर्फ ये देखते हैं कि बाकी सब क्या कर रहे हैं, अच्छा बाकी सब इस इशू पे गवर्नमेंट को वोट कर रहे हैं तो हम भी जाके वोट कर देते हैं, इस पार्टी को वोट कर रहे हैं सब, अच्छा चलो हम भी चलते हैं, विदाउट एक्चुअली going back, doing your own research, doing your own reasoning, applying your own mind. अगर हम mindlessly vote करते हैं, है ना, तो too much democracy is also therefore not good. तो democracy एक बहुत interesting topic है ना, जिसपे there is a wide section of opinion. Too much democracy, when large number of masses start participating in democracy, at times it is not good. It translates into mobocracy. Yes, so democracy is good but not mobocracy. Fine. Let us complete. अच्छा ठीक है. Do you want to take a break? I see a few. हाँ लेना ये कर ले continue. कर ले. Fine. Why India adopted first past the post system? Why India adopted first past the post system? Simple. First point, its simplicity. Its simplicity. Easier to understand for the common masses. Easy. First point is simplicity का ही है, easier to understand for common masses. And at the time of independence, only 17% of the population was illiterate. I always say this, है ना, not even educated. तो उनके लिए to understand, है ना, a proportional representation would have become little difficult. So simplicity and easy to understand for masses. Second point क्या है? Clear choice, ठीक है, और बताओ. Clear choice वही है, simple है, easy to understand, clear choice to be made. हाँ, इसीलिए क्लियर चॉइस फॉर वोटर्स, इसीलिए इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड सिंपल है. वहीं पे आप चाहे तो लिख सकते हो, उसी में लिख लो, उसी पॉइंट में लिख लो, है ना. अ सिंपल क्लियर चॉइस, सिंपल क्लियर चॉइस टू बी मेड, है ना. सिंगल कैंडिडेट विल गेट इलेक्टेड, whosoever is able to secure maximum number of votes wins the election. Yes. सेकंड पॉइंट क्या होगा? Yes, familiarity. Familiarity. Familiarity with the system. Familiarity with the system. Familiarity with the system. What else? Yes? हाँ, इक्वल रिप्रेजेंटेशन कहाँ है? ये तो मेजोरिटेरियन गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म करता है ये सिस्टम. वाइडर रिप्रेजेंटेशन तो वहीं पे है ना. प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में है वाइडर रिप्रेजेंटेशन. व्हाट एल्स? स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट. स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट. यस, स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट में लिख लो टेंडेंसी, टेंडेंसी to result in single party majority rule. Single party majority rule, है ना, rather than coalition government. Yes. Last point, accountable government. Accountable government. उसमें लिखो since one representative elected from one constituency. Yes, one representative elected from one constituency. This ensures greater accountability. This ensures greater accountability. This ensures greater accountability. Yes, fine. इंडिविजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन का क्या मतलब होता है? फाइन. पीपल कैन डायरेक्टली एंगेज इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ इलेक्शन. ये कौन से सिस्टम में है? बोथ में है. प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में क्या पीपल डू नॉट डायरेक्टली वोट? इन इजराइल एंड नेदरलैंड्स हु वोट्स? यस, इन अर्जेंटीना हु वोट्स? कॉमन पीपल वोट. तो यहाँ पे ये है ना, इन केस ऑफ लोकसभा एंड राज्यसभा देयर इज दिस डिफरेंस, बट नॉट अदरवाइज, है ना. So that is the fine. So that is, these are the various reasons why we chose FT, है ना, first past the post system, despite its certain weaknesses, despite maybe lack of wider representation under the system. We still chose this system because of familiarity, simplicity, greater accountability, and a more stable government that it produces. Fine. Next we'll discuss Election Commission of India. Let's take a break and then we'll discuss Election Commission of India. Yes, a 10 minutes break and then we discuss Election Commission of India. Yes, starting once again, the last topic under election and representation is Election Commission of India. There is a question, right to protest, is it part of true democracy? Yes, right to protest, right to dissent is part of true democracy. Fine, so right to protest against a law which you think is not just, does not take into your interest, your communities, your interest group's interest, is an indication of true democracy. So when the farmers, recently आपने देखा होगा, farmers were protesting against the 3 farm laws brought by the government and there were regular protests which in fact forced the government to withdraw the 3 laws. So it is in fact indicative of true democracy, voice of the people getting heard. Fine, so that is the idea. Now next is Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India has been mentioned under Article 324 of the Indian Constitution. It is an independent commission or independent body which is expected to conduct elections, in India. Yes, at national and at state level. Yes, so it means national level pe Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, President, Vice President. In case of state level, you will have state legislative assemblies, and in case those states which have legislative councils, जहाँ पे bicameral legislature है, ये हम पढ़ेंगे अभी जब जाएंगे, तो SLCs, legislative councils के elections में भी it is these elections are conducted by Election Commission of India. There is another body known as State Election Commission. They are expected to conduct elections at the level of Panchayati Raj institutions and urban local bodies. Yes, so at village and municipality level, they are expected to conduct elections. Otherwise, at the state and national level, Election Commission of India is expected to conduct elections. It is an independent body. It is very, very essential because for a representative democracy to continue to be true democracy, to result in an accountable government, to result in empowerment of the masses, people have to have the right to choose their representatives. Yes, and therefore Election Commission of India has been bestowed with several powers its independence has been secured, because it is a very, very vital body to ensure true democracy, yeah, genuine representative democracy in India. And being such an important body, it is mentioned under the constitution, है ना. इसीलिए under article 324 creates, है ना, creates the provision for creation of election commission of India. Fine, not all bodies would be constitutional bodies, but constitutional bodies, generally the bodies which perform very vital role in case of Indian democracy, they are mentioned under the constitution, and election commission of India is one such body. Fine. Now what is its composition? Yes, it comprises chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. Was it always a 3-member body? No, initially when it was formed, it was a single, and it was a single member body comprising just chief election commissioner. In 1989, for a few months, it became a multi-member body, a 3-member body, when the voting age was was decreased from 21 to 18 years. तो सडन वर्कलोड बढ़ गया उनका, क्योंकि इलेक्टोरल रोल भी इन्हीं को प्रिपेयर करना होता है, तो इस वजह से, है ना, it was made into a multi-member body for a few months, but once again reverted back to a single member body, and since 1993 this has been the composition of Election Commission of India. It comprises Chief Election Commission and a Commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. How are they appointed? The Constitution says, according to the Constitution of India, they are to be appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers, which happens to be headed by Prime Minister, है ना. So they are appointed by the President of India on the recommendation of Council of Ministers. Yes, why so? Because President as such can never act on his own. He is always to be aided and advised by the Council of Minister. Council of Minister आप सब समझते हो? Yes. So you have the Prime Minister and the various ministers, है ना, है ना, on Railway Minister, Education Minister, है ना, जो ये सारे portfolios हैं, जो बहुत सारे ministers हैं, वो सब एक साथ they constitute Council of Ministers. Fine. And recently the appointment has been much debated and discussed. Yes, you find that recently, last year in March 2023, the Supreme Court gave a judgment whereby the Supreme Court said that the election commissioners, the CEC as well as the other election commissioners, would be appointed by the President based on recommendation of a committee. है ना, the Supreme Court had said that they would be appointed by President on the basis of recommendation by a committee, and this committee was expected to comprise of the Prime Minister, leader of opposition or the leader of the largest opposition party, yes, and the CGI. But recently in December 2023, the government of India has come out with a new bill which does away with the recommendation of the Supreme Court. So they have suggested that he would be appointed by the President on the basis of recommendation of a selection committee. But anyways, this bill has yet not been passed by Lok Sabha. So this bill is still pending, है ना? But it is expected, since it is a majority government, that the bill would be passed by Lok Sabha and the appointment would eventually take place through this mechanism. Yes, let us mention this much and then we'll discuss further. Give the heading Election Commission of India, write down. It is an independent commission tasked with the function to conduct elections at national and state level in India. In India. Next sub point, write down next point. It is a constitutional body. It is a constitutional body mentioned under article देखो कौन सा ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लिख दिया तो इसका मतलब स्टैट्यूटरी नहीं है, और जनरली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल स्टेटस इज अ हायर स्टेटस, है ना, तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूट लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट मीन्स दिस ओनली कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है तो स्टैट्यूटरी लॉ क्यों बनेगा फिर, है ना. इसका क्रिएशन हैज बीन डन बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इटसेल्फ. इट इज अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी मेंशन्ड अंडर आर्टिकल 324. Article 324. Full stop. Its role is to ensure free and fair elections in the country. Next subhead, composition. There's a question by Bhisheti. Yes, will election commission intervene in Rajya Sabha election? Election commission does not intervene, it conducts Rajya Sabha. कौन conduct करेगा election? तो वो रोल है ना, ये इंटरवीन वगैरह नहीं करता. दे कंडक्ट इलेक्शंस. हु इज कंडक्टिंग इलेक्शंस इन इंडिया? इलेक्शन कमीशन विल बी अकाउंटेबल टू द रूलिंग पार्टी. ये प्रॉब्लम है, वील डिस्कस ऑल दैट, है ना. ज्यादा डिटेल में तो नहीं जाएंगे अभी, बट वील डिस्कस इट. राइट डाउन composition. Composition, write down. The constitution says that the election commission of India shall consist of a chief election commissioner and such numbers of election commissioners who may be appointed by the president from time to time. Yes, so the constitution says that the chief election commissioner, the election commission of India shall consist of a single chief election commissioner and such number of election commissioners as may be appointed by president from time to time. Write down, इसी में लिखो. Next point, since its inception, since its formation, comma, it functioned as a single member body, as a single member body, as a single member body consisting of CEC alone, Chief Election Commissioner alone, CEC, Chief Election Commissioner alone, full stop. Next point, in 1989, for a few months, it was made into a three-member body, put a hyphen, write down, because the voting age was reduced from 21 to 18 years, and consequently the workload increased for Election Commission of India, Now you can mention ECI also, it is an accepted acronym, ECI, Election Commission of India. Next point likho. However, since 1993, it has functioned as a three-member body, comprising a Chief Election Commissioner, and two other election commissioners, Okay, so this is the composition. Now there is Chief Election Commissioner and two election commissioners. Now is there any hierarchy in which they sit? No, all three enjoy similar rank as that of a judge of Supreme Court. Yes, in fact, any decision which is to be taken by the Election Commission of India is taken on the basis of majority of votes. So it is not that the election commissioner, Chief Election Commissioner enjoys any kind of superiority. Okay. As such, the powers are equally distributed. All three enjoy same rank. All three draw the same salary, same allowances, same pensions under the Constitution of India. ठीक है, तो लिख लो ये भी. Write down. All three members enjoy the rank of judge of the Supreme Court. Enjoy the rank of a judge of the Supreme Court. Full stop. Next point. Write down, though CEC, Chief Election Commissioner, though CEC presides over the meetings the meetings, presides over, है ना, he is the chairman of the meeting, presides over the meetings of ECI, Election Commission of India, presides over the meetings of ECI, comma, he does not enjoy more powers, he does not enjoy more powers than the other two election commissioners. Than the other two election commissioners. Yes. Fine. So this is about the composition. Next is appointment. Next is appointment. Yes. Write down the constitution. The constitution mentions that the appointment of CEC and other two election commissioners comma subject to the provisions of any law made by the parliament, subject to the provisions of any law made by the parliament, comma, will be made by the president. Yes. So what does the constitution says? The constitution says that he will be the chief election commissioner and the other two election commissioners shall be appointed by the president, subject to any law made by the parliament. But until now there has been no law made by the parliament. Therefore, his or her appointment used to take place by the president on the aid and advice of his COM. Write down. Write down. Until now, no law has been made by the parliament. No law has been made by the parliament in this regard. And therefore, the CEC and other election commissioners were appointed by the president. On the advice of the Council of Ministers. On the advice of the Council of Ministers, headed by PM. Headed by the PM. Headed by the PM. Next point, write down. Recently in March 2023, the Supreme Court in response to a PIL, public interest litigation करके कुछ होता है ना, अभी उसके डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे. In response to a PIL, public interest litigation, And in public interest, somebody can file a case in Supreme Court. That is the idea. Without you being directly involved in the case. Generally, अगर आपको case file करना, you should be involved. But in case of PILs, you might be a third party. You might not be directly involved, but in the interest of public, you file a case in Supreme Court. Fine, so that is the idea. So, you have written, recently in March 2023, the Supreme Court, in response to a PIL filed in 2015, gave a judgment, full stop. The Supreme Court opined, ठीक है, Supreme Court ने opinion दिया. The Supreme Court opined that the CEC and other ECs, election commissioners, other ECs should be appointed by the President on the recommendation of a committee comprising PM, leader of opposition, in bracket लिखो, or the leader of the largest opposition party, close the bracket, and CGI, Chief Justice of India, and CGI, that is Chief Justice of India, full stop. Next point लिखो. However, in December 2023, the Rajya Sabha has passed a bill, according to which the CEC and other two ECs shall be appointed by the President on the recommendation of a selection committee, consisting of the PM, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, and a cabinet minister to be nominated by the PM, इसी में लिखो next point. This bill awaits becoming a law, awaits becoming an act, awaits, AWAITS, awaits becoming a law or act, following its passage in the Lok Sabha. या by the Lok Sabha. By the Lok Sabha. Fine. So as such, it is better than what the procedure existed previously, where he was appointed completely on the recommendation of the COM. So the opposition party had no role. So अब selection committee में at least the leader of opposition is going to be present. Even if the vote is on the basis of majority, if they decide on the basis of majority, even in that case, the dissent of the leader of opposition can be recorded. Yes. So it is better than what existed before, but it is, of course, it tilts the appointment procedure once again in favor of the ruling party or the government in power. Because यहाँ पे cabinet minister appointed by या nominated by the PM है and PM himself. So the government will be in majority. ठीक है, तो independence of Election Commission of India might be slightly compromised in that circumstance, but it is a better process than what existed before. Fine. So that is the idea. Not getting into too much detail, we'll discuss this in detail when we are discussing it as part of foundation, but I've given you the present view, and it is most likely that it is going to become a law. इसीलिए अभी mention कर दिया है. ठीक है. So a pivotal judgment delivered by the Supreme Court but rejected by the Parliament, which has sought to come out with its own law as far as appointment of the Election Commissioner of India, as well as Chief Election Commissioner, as well as other election commissioners is concerned. Fine. Next, give the heading Independence of ECI. Next subhead, appointment हो गया. Next subhead क्या है? Independence of ECI. Yes. पहले लिखो इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ ईसीआई लिख लिया आपने. अब लिखो why it is essential that the election commissioner of India या election commission of India should be independent. Yes, because they are involved in the process of conducting elections, which is key to ensuring proper representative democracy, so as to ensure that the ruling party does not get its way in the upcoming elections, in the next elections. Yes, because of the vital role that they perform in a democracy, it is essential that ECI should be independent. लिखो why में लिखो given the vital role या important role of conducting free and fair elections, it is important that ECI, Election Commission of India, ECI remains या enjoys independence. इसी में लिखो नेक्स्ट सब पॉइंट की तरह लिखो to prevent the ruling party, या to prevent the present government, है ना, the then present government to extraordinarily influence the upcoming elections, comma, independence of ECI is essential, comma, independence of ECI is essential. ठीक है, so that is the reason ECI should enjoy independence. अब लिखो how. Why we have discussed how its independence is secured. Sub point 1, security of tenure. Yes. सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर में लिखो, है ना. सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर मतलब क्या है? दे आर अपॉइंटेड फॉर अ फिक्स्ड टर्म and they cannot be removed on the whims and fancies of the executive, of the president. There is a constitutional procedure mentioned for their removal. ठीक है, write down, इसी में लिखो. they are appointed for a 6-year term, or until 6-year term, or until they attain the age of 65 years, comma whichever is earlier. Yes, comma whichever is earlier. इसी में लिखो नेक्स्ट सब पॉइंट, ड्यूरिंग their tenure they cannot be removed their tenure they cannot be removed on the whims and fancies. ये हम यूज करते हैं जब हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लैंग्वेज लिखते हैं, पॉलिटी में आंसर लिखते हैं तो हम लिखते हैं विम्स एंड फैंसीज. दे कैन नॉट बी रिमूव्ड ऑन विम्स एंड फैंसीज ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव. मतलब उनका जब मन किया एग्जीक्यूटिव का तो उसके मन के हिसाब से उसका रिमूवल नहीं हो सकता है. इसको एक अलग तरीका है लिखने का जिसमें वी से दैट दे डू नॉट होल्ड ऑफिस एट द प्लेजर ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट. दो अपॉइंटेड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट, the chief election commissioner and the other election commissioners do not hold office at the pleasure of the president. If you want, you can mention it. Write down in bracket, they do not hold office at the pleasure of the president. Though appointed by him. Yes, इसी में लिखो लास्ट पॉइंट सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर में, दो अपॉइंटेड बाय हिम, क्लोज द ब्रैकेट. नेक्स्ट सब पॉइंट, they can be removed only in the manner as provided under the constitution. That is in the same manner and on the same grounds as judge of Supreme Court. ठीक है. Fine. So it is only on the manner mentioned under the constitution they can be removed from office, not at the whims and fancies of the executive. They do not hold office at the pleasure of the president. Fine, though appointed by the president. Next, ineligible for reappointment. Second point under independence is they are ineligible, है ना. हाउ में फर्स्ट पॉइंट था सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर, सेकेंड पॉइंट है ineligible for reappointment. Yes, so CEC is ineligible for reappointment. Election Commission, other election commissioners also cannot be reappointed back into their office after completion of 6 years. If they have yet not attained 65 years of age, it does not mean that they can secure reappointment. और ये प्रोविजन क्यों हटाया गया है? क्योंकि अगर रीअपॉइंटमेंट का प्रोविजन रहेगा तो दे वुड वांट टू डू थिंग्स व्हिच इज फेवरेबल टू द रूलिंग पार्टी, टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द डे, ताकि वो गवर्नमेंट उसको रीअपॉइंट करे. Yes, so they have been made ineligible for reappointment. However, the election commissioner, CEC, cannot be reappointed. Once the job is done, that is it. However, as far as election commissioner is concerned, election commissioner can be appointed as chief election commissioner. But the total period of his tenure within the ECI should not exceed 6 years. Yes, so ऐसा हो सकता है कि he is promoted to chief election commissioner, but the total period for which he is serving under the ECI should not exceed more than 6 years, or until he attains the age of 65, whichever is earlier. Write it down. Write down CEC, CEC and other ECs are ineligible for reappointment, are ineligible or are not eligible for reappointment. Write down, इसी में next point लिखो. However, EC can be appointed as CEC. An election commissioner can be appointed as chief election commissioner, can be appointed as CEC, provided his total number of years as EC and CEC does not exceed 6 years. Does not exceed 6 years. Fine, so they are ineligible for reappointment. Next, third is salaries, pensions and allowances. Their salaries. Third is their salaries, pensions and allowances are charged on consolidated fund of India. Yes, in bracket लिखो, इसका मतलब क्या है? Charged का मतलब क्या है? Not subject to parliamentary vote, है ना? तो once again they are independent. Their independence is ensured क्योंकि हर साल उनके salaries, allowances और pensions पे कोई vote नहीं होगा by the parliament. They are charged on the consolidated fund of India. Yes, इसी में लिखो no, है ना? They are charged on the consolidated fund of India, in bracket not subject to parliamentary vote, है ना? Not subject to parliamentary vote. ठीक है, इसी में लिखो their salaries, pensions, allowances cannot be reduced except during an emergency. Full stop. Fine, so this is how we ensure security of Election Commission of India. Yes, last is functions. Yes, the Constitution of India says that the Election Commission of India has been given the power of superintendence, direction and control of elections in India. Yes, the constitution uses these three words. Superintendence, direction and control of elections in India has been given to Election Commission of India. And these three words have been most widely interpreted by the judiciary. It means that the Election Commission of India is all but powerful during conducting elections in India. So national and state level elections, the Election Commission of India is bestowed with all powers, all functions which are necessary to in fact ensure free and fair elections. Yes, in fact we say that they enjoy a reservoir of power. All the power that can be required to ensure free and fair elections automatically bestowed on them through these three words: superintendence, direction and control of elections in India. Yes, so it is a very, very powerful body given a lot of power by the constitution. Why? Because they perform a very vital function which is essential to sustenance of democracy in India. Yes, so this is what is mentioned in the constitution. Apart from it, we will elaborate a list of functions that they perform. Let us first write this much down. Write down. Function mein likho. The constitution has vested, yeah, has given the power of superintendence, comma, direction and control to ECI in India, to Election Commission of India. Full stop. This has been very widely interpreted by the judiciary full stop. It means Election Commission of India, ECI, will have all necessary powers to conduct free and fair elections. Underline these three words: superintendence, direction and control. Yes. Write down. Next point, it performs the following functions. एक small subhead दो, administrative functions. अब administrative functions में क्या होगा? आप बताते जाओ, we'll write it down. पहले तो delimitation of electoral constituencies है ना, they are the ones who will they play an important role as far as delimitation of electoral constituencies is concerned है ना, because based on हमारे यहाँ क्या electoral constituencies are based on proportion of population है ना, तो जब census होता है तो उसके हिसाब से है ना electoral constituencies need to be reconstituted, needs to be adjusted every 10 years. ठीक है, ये है अभी काफी समय से हमने अपने इलेक्टोरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज को रीएडजस्ट किया नहीं है बिकॉज वी वांट टू इंसेंटिवाइज पॉपुलेशन कंट्रोल. ठीक है, तो वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इनटू दिस, बट द रोल, वन ऑफ द प्राइमरी रोल दे परफॉर्म इज इन टर्म्स ऑफ है ना कॉन्स्टिट्यूटिंग द इलेक्टोरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज. फिर उसके अलावा इलेक्टोरल रोल्स, हु आर द वोटर्स हु वुड बी एलिजिबल टू वोट. यस, that electoral roll year on year is prepared and revised by the इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया। और बताओ, सॉरी, यस, नोटिफिकेशन, जो शेड्यूलिंग है ऑफ इलेक्शंस है ना, व्हेन द इलेक्शन विल बी कंडक्टेड is notified by the election commission of India. The dates, the schedule of the elections will be decided by the election commission of India. What else? Yes, to register, to grant recognition to the political parties is also performed by election commission of India. Let's write down this much. First point under administrative function, to determine territorial areas of the constituencies in India. Second point, डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन एक्चुअली डिसाइड करता है और उसके बेसिस पे ये लोग हैं जो टेरिटोरियल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी बनाते हैं, लेकिन अभी हम डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन वगैरह हमने पढ़ा नहीं है तो हम इस पे नहीं डिस्कस करेंगे, है ना, वो बाद में ही करेंगे, अभी वील नॉट डिस्कस ऑल दैट। सेकेंड पॉइंट लिखो, इट प्रिपेयर्स and periodically revises the electoral rolls. Next point, it determines the schedule of the election, comma, notifies the dates of the election, Next point, it registers political parties, allots them election symbols, yes. So these are some of the administrative role performed by the Election Commission of India. Next is advisory role. हाँ, इलेक्टोरल रोल्स मतलब वोटर लिस्ट ही होता है ना, तो इलेक्टोरल रोल्स प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं मतलब वोटर लिस्ट प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं वो। एडवाइजरी फंक्शन में क्या है? वो एडवाइजरी नहीं रोल है ना, वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रोल ही कह सकते हैं, वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रोल है ना। एडवाइजरी मतलब जहां पे वो एडवाइस देंगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑफ एमपीज एंड एमएलएज बिफोर दे आर डन, है ना, द इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया इज, है ना, इट्स एडवाइस इज सॉट, है ना। तो प्रेसिडेंट seeks the advice, president and governor in case of disqualification of MPs and MLAs seeks the advice of election commission of India. तो वो उसका advisory, वो advice देता है, वो advice does not bind the president or the governor, but before disqualification they will seek the advice of the election commission of India. Write it down. to advise the president and the governor on matters related to disqualification of MPs and members of the state legislature. नेक्स्ट सब हेड दो एडवाइजरी फंक्शन में सिर्फ यही मेंशन कर रहे हैं, यही प्राइमरी एडवाइजरी रोल है उनका. नेक्स्ट इज क्वासी जुडिशियल फंक्शन. क्वासी जुडिशियल फंक्शन मतलब इट इज नॉट अ जुडिशरी, जो है ना जुडिशियल बॉडी तो नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी कुछ जजमेंट्स देते हैं वो. क्वासी जुडिशियल फंक्शन. क्वासी जुडिशियल फंक्शन. इट इज नॉट अ जुडिशियल बॉडी है ना, ये तो इलेक्शन कंडक्ट करने के लिए बॉडी है. बट सिंस इट हैज बीन बेस्टोड प्लीनरी पावर्स या बेस्टोड पावर ऑफ सुपरिंटेंडेंस डायरेक्शन एंड कंट्रोल, तो इसके पास बहुत ज्यादा पावर्स दिए गए हैं ताकि एंश्योर करे फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन. So in fact it performs a range of functions and we are classifying these functions as administrative, as advisory and as quasi judicial. Quasi judicial matlab where it will give some sort of a judgment. Yes. उसमें लिखो point number 1, with respect to dispute over recognition of a political party, as state level or national level political party, and allotment of election symbols. है ना, to them, to the political parties. So there might be a dispute. See, there is a difference. First हमने क्या लिखा है, administrative role में it has the role to register. If I today want to form a political party, I will have to get that political party registered. Yes. So following the normal procedural norms, I can go to the election commission, ask it that this is the political party I have formed, please register the political party and this is the symbol that I want, and they will recognize and register that. Yes. But if I want to be recognized as a national level party or a state level party, my party has to perform where? Perform in elections. It has to be able to secure certain percentage of votes in Lok Sabha elections. I should be able to secure, my political party should be able to secure certain number of seats in Lok Sabha elections. Only then I will be registered or I will be recognized as a national level party. Similarly, for me to be recognized as a state level party, I will have to perform and I will have to secure certain percentage of votes and secure certain number of seats in the state legislative assemblies. Yes. So there is a difference between registration. Anybody can go and get their political parties registered, but to be recognized as a national or state level party, the political party has to perform and it has to perform in the elections. Only then you are recognized as a state or national level party. And why political parties want such recognition? Because there are some additional benefits that are given to national level and state level political parties when they are recognized to be so, because it is believed that these parties have chances to win election. So in case supposedly a candidate of a recognized national party passes away prior to the election was to be held in a constituency and the candidate has suddenly passed away. In that case, the election can be postponed or should be postponed by a few days, so that it gives time to the recognized political party to find another suitable candidate for that constituency. But supposedly, I am not a recognized political party and my party's candidate has passed away. In that case, the election will go on as normal. Yes, if I am a recognized political party, Election Commission of India will send to me an electoral list for the constituencies in which I am contesting elections. I will be given certain additional time for my advertisement through various media platforms. तो इस तरह के कुछ privileges हैं जो दिए जाते हैं when you are recognized as national or state level parties. So this recognition is also done by Election Commission of India. And there might be instances where a party has been recognized to be a state level party, but others dispute, no, that it is not a state level. Yes. Fine. So there might be certain disputes with respect to recognition of a party as state level or national level, and those disputes are to be settled by Election Commission of India. My political party might be given a recognition of state level, but I might say, no, my party is qualified to become a national level political party, give me that recognition. So any such a dispute is also settled by the Election Commission of India. Also, it might so happen, see, there are many parties, and there are hundreds of political parties which might be registered. Yes, and there might arise a situation where, without realizing, two political parties lay claim to the same symbol. In that case also there might be a dispute, and that dispute is also settled by the Election Commission. So it plays that role, and a judicial role, quasi-judicial role in settling such disputes. Yes. What else? Yes, there will be such examples, several such examples, है ना. वहाँ पे कई बार पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के बीच में अलॉटमेंट ऑफ सिंबल्स पे भी डिस्प्यूट हुआ है. स्टेट लेवल, नेशनल लेवल पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अपग्रेडेड, डिग्रेडेड, ये चलता रहता है. तो है ना, सच ऑल सच डिस्प्यूट्स आर टू बी सेटल्ड बाय द इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया. इसी में लिखो, क्वासी जुडिशियल फंक्शन में ही लिखो, टू कैंसल पोल्स in the event of rigging, rigging of elections, booth capturing, in the event of rigging, RIGGING. Yes. Booth capturing, etc. Yes. So all these are some examples of quasi-judicial functions that the Election Commission of India performs. Fine. So with it we also conclude the discussion on the Election Commission of India. And with it we complete our discussion on election and representation. Election Commission of India as such is a very, very important topic in your mains, in your prelims. Yes, we have had an overview of the discussion. We have not got into too much detail of the discussion, but as such it is an important body on which standalone questions can be asked in the exam, and which will be discussed in detail when it comes to your foundation course. The next topic that we were expected to start is the executive. We'll not start it today. Yes, we'll start it in the next class, that is tomorrow. We'll be discussing the chapter on executive. Yes, that is it for today then. Thank you.